Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajat-Acharya Astotara Satasi Srimad Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Jai Shri Krishna Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Shri Mayapur Dhama ki. Anitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सवादूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पदां सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरे वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna, welcome. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 24, text 34. Of course, today is the most auspicious day of the appearance of Shiva's Pandit, so we'll be focusing on that during the class. So let's recite the verse. Smābhipṛcche patim prajānāṁ. Smābhipṛcche patim prajānāṁ. tvayāvatīrṇa utāpta-kāmaḥ. tvayāvatīrṇa utāpta-kāmaḥ. parivrajat-padavīm āsthito aham. parivrajat-padavīm āsthito aham. cariṣye hṛdi yuñjan viśokaḥ. cariṣye hṛdi yuñjan viśokaḥ. Bolo. Smābhipṛcche patim prajānāṁ. tvayāvatīrṇarṇa utāpta-kāmaḥ parivrajat-padavīm āsthito aham cariṣye tvām hṛdi yuñjan viśokaḥ. smābhipṛcche patim prajānāṁ tvayāvatīrṇa utāpta-kāmaḥ parivrajat-padavīm āsthito aham cariṣye tvām hṛdi yuñjan viśokaḥ. Vaishnavis. smābhipṛcche patim prajānāṁ tvayāvatīrṇarṇa utāpta-kāmaḥ parivrajat-padavīm āsthito aham cariṣye tvām hṛdi yuñjan viśokaḥ. smābhipṛcche patim prajānāṁ tvayāvatīrṇarṇa utāpta-kāmaḥ parivrajat-padavīm āsthito aham cariṣye tvām hṛdi yuñjan viśokaḥ. smābhipṛcche. I am inquiring. Adya, now. Patim, the Lord. Prajānāṁ, of all created beings. Tvayā, by you. avatīrṇa-ṛṇaḥ, free from depths. and āpta, fulfilled. Kāmaḥ, desires. Parivrajat, of an itinerant mendicant. Padavīm, the path. Āsthitaḥ, accept him. Aham, I. Cariṣye, I shall wander. Tvām, you. Hṛdi, in my heart. Yuñjan, keeping. Viśokaḥ, free from lamentation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Today I have something to ask from you, who are the Lord of all living entities. Since I have now been liberated by you from my debts to my Father, and since all my desires are fulfilled, I wish to accept the order of an itinerant mendicant. Renouncing this family life, I wish to wander about, free from lamentation, thinking always of you in my heart. Purport. Actually, sannyas, or renunciation of material household life, necessitates complete absorption in Krishna consciousness and immersion in the self. One does not take sannyas, freedom from family responsibility, in the renounced order of life, to make another family or to create an embarrassing transcendental fraud in the name of sannyas. The sannyasi's business is not to become proprietor of so many things and amass money from the innocent public. A sannyasi is proud that he is always thinking of Krishna within himself. Of course, there are two kinds of devotees of the Lord. One is called Koshti Anandi, which means those who are preachers and have many followers for preaching the glories of the Lord, and who live among those many followers, just to organize missionary activities. Other devotees are atma-anandi, or self-satisfied, and do not take the risk of preaching work. They remain, therefore, alone with God. In this classification was Kardama Muni. He wanted to be free from all anxieties and remain alone within his heart with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Parivrajat means an itinerant mendicant. A mendicant sannyasi should not live anywhere for more than 3 days. He must be always moving, because his duty is to move from door to door and enlighten people about Krishna consciousness. Kardama Muni is now praying. He's praying. His mission has been completed. Like he sent his debt to his father. And now that Kapila Muni is born, he's ready to depart in the spirit of preaching. Of course, the question always arises, why will he want to leave when the Lord is already in his house? And Prabhupada explains that he was following the Vedic system, and ultimately, like here, Prabhupada is making a very nice comment. He wanted to be free from all anxieties and remain alone within his heart with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here, while he's offering these prayers, Lord Brahma is present, and also Kardama Muni, Narada Muni is also present. And today we are celebrating the divine appearance of Srivas Pandit, who is none other than Narada Muni, and who exemplifies this spirit of the Vaishnava. And the spirit of the Vaishnava is that he is always concerned with doing welfare for all the living entities. That's the mark of the Vaishnava, and this is what we find in common with the devotees that appear in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srivas Pandit is one of the 5 members of the Panchatattva, Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam, Bhaktarupa Swarupakam, Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam, Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. So he's Bhaktakyam. He represents the devotee. He represents the pure devotee. And it's explained that it's very significant that the devotee is a member of these 5 aspects of the absolute truth, because the Lord is complete with his devotee. And Srivas Pandit, he is the leader of all the devotees of the Sankirtan movement. When we are praying, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We're praying, we want to enter into the association of the devotees who are headed by Srivas Pandit. And he actually is explained that Lord Chaitanya descended to this material world because of the intense prayers of Advaita Acharya and the loud kirtan of Srivas Pandit. He was originally, he appeared in Sylhet. He was originally in Bangladesh. He had 4 brothers. One of his brothers, Sri Ramai Pandit, is also an incarnation of Parvata Muni, who was a close friend of Narada Muni. And they moved to this area, to Mayapur, to Navadvip Dham, and they were very, very close to Advaita Acharya. He was the 4 brothers. They were regularly coming to hear Advaita Acharya's classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they were performing kirtan prior to the appearance of Mahaprabhu. In fact, it's described that Srivas Pandit was a very, very close friend also of Jagannath Mishra. Also Malini, the wife of Srivas Pandit, he was very close to the wife of Jagannath Mishra. And they were contemporaries. It's explained that when Lord Chaitanya appeared, Srivas Pandit was already like around 50 years old. And they all knew that Mahaprabhu was about to come. But by the deluding energy of Mahaprabhu, they didn't know it was Mahaprabhu. But Srivas Pandit and his wife, Malini, they became like second fathers, second parents for Mahaprabhu. They were assisting Jagannath Mishra and his wife to raise Sri Chaitanya. So he was such a close associate of the Lord that the Lord actually came because of his loud kirtan, and he was raised by the Lord. So there are many, many beautiful pastimes that took place, and I will try to focus on a few. But it's very significant. I like to say that, you know, because Srivas Pandit is the leader of the devotees, we can meditate on his qualities, and which are demonstrated by his pastimes. So it's described that when Nimai Pandit, he became very, very learned, and he became very famous in Navadvip. And he was also very arrogant as well. And one time Srivas Pandit, he came, and he said to him that he was teaching to his disciples, and he said to him, what is the use of all this, you know, study of the scriptures? It becomes very tedious if you don't become a devotee of the Lord. What is the use of all this? And Lord Chaitanya, he laughed. And he said, by your mercy, one day I may become a devotee of the Lord. And so you please pray for me that I become a devotee. And shortly after, Lord Chaitanya went to Gaya, he received initiation, and he became transformed into a pure Vaishnava. He came back to Mayapur, and they were performing kirtan in his house, Shiva Sangam, and there was a lot of envy of Shiva's Thakur in Navadvip, because Navadvip at that time is full of scholars and full of smarta brahmanas who could not really understand Mahaprabhu, or who could not really understand Vaishnavism. And the result was that they were really envious of Shiva's Thakur. They wanted to boycott his kirtans. They wanted to throw him in the Ganges along with his house. This was even before Mahaprabhu came. But Shiva's Thakur, he continued with his kirtan. And this is again the first quality that we can acknowledge from Shiva's Pandit. It was his tolerance and his fixed determination to chant, to continue with the kirtan despite all the difficulties that there were. So when Mahaprabhu came back and they were doing this nocturnal kirtans, these smarta brahmanas, they were very, very disturbed by this. And they were trying to plan some way by which they could stop this. So they started a rumor that, he said, because this is all happening because Srivas Thakur. He changed this boy. He was such a nice boy, Nimayin Pandit. He was a scholar. And now he's come back, he's transformed, he's chanting in the middle of the night, howling. He's become like a madman. So, now what's going to happen is the Muslim rulers are going to come here and they're going to destroy the city. We're going to be affected by this because they're causing so much disturbance. So they told this to Srivas Thakur, and Srivas Thakur was, in the Chaitanya Bhagavatam, it described he was a very simple man. And he became very, very afraid of this, that the Muslim rulers will come and they will destroy his house. And he went to his house and he was praying intensely, really praying to the Lord for protection. He had a deity of Lord Nishingadev. I don't know if it was Shalagran Shila, but he was praying to Lord Nishingadev very, very intensely for protection. And Mahaprabhu, as Krishna, he was at this point, he not displayed any, he was still like a devotee of the Lord. But he heard these prayers, and he was kind of walking around, he was seeing some cows, and somehow he got into the mood of, I am the Supreme Lord. And he went to the house of Srivas Pandit, and he was banging on the door, please, please, Srivas, open the door, open the door. And Srivas Pandit was so deeply absorbed in his prayers, he couldn't hear. Finally, he came, he heard Mahaprabhu, please open the door. And he said, who are you worshipping? Whom are you praying to? He said, the very person that you're praying to is here now in front of your eyes. This was the first time that Mahaprabhu actually expressed to the world, revealed himself as a Supreme Lord. And he entered into the house of Srivas Pandit. He sat down on the altar and, he performed his pastime of being the Lord. He revealed himself in this way to Srivas Pandit. So, the kirtans were going on in the house of Srivas Pandit, and only very, very few people were allowed to come. Advaita Charya was coming, Gadadhar Pandit was coming, and a few others. This was a very kind of intimate kirtan. And Mahaprabhu was experiencing the highest ecstasies. He was roaring, roaring, shouting, and jumping up and down. And the kirtans will go on for all night, And in the morning, they will go to bathe in the Ganges. And Srivas Pandit had a maid servant in the house who will every day, get water for Mahaprabhu for the Mahaprabhu to bathe. And the name of this lady was, anyone knows the name of this maid servant? She was called Duki. And Mahaprabhu was very pleased with her, simple service. And she called her, she changed the name from Duki to Sukhi. So Mahaprabhu was very, very pleased with Srivas Thakur, and while they were having these kirtans, on one occasion, there was 2 times that similar pastime took place. And as I said, these kirtans were very exclusive. I always was wondering, how is it that kirtans were exclusive? Because Lord Chaitanya came to open the storehouse of love of God to everyone. Why is it that it was very exclusive? But the time was, as we said, there was so many hostile people there in Navadvip, and so many unqualified people who will commit offenses if they will come. And in these kirtans, the highest, only the very, very qualified people were allowed, because you have to be qualified. It's like in Vrindavan, You know, everybody is a devotee of Krishna, but not everybody joins the rasa dance. And so it was very, very selected people. And on one occasion, I think it was Shiva's Pandit's mother-in-law. She came to the kirtan, and Mahaprabhu was, she was hiding. I believe Shiva's Pandit kind of smuggled her in, you know. And then Mahaprabhu was singing, and he felt that somehow I'm not feeling the ecstasy. Somehow someone is here who doesn't belong here. And then, you know, it turns out there was this lady, she was taken out. And then on another occasion, same thing happened. Shiva's Pandit smuggled one brahmachari who was only drinking milk. He was a very detached brahmachari, and he was hidden in some kind of basket. And then Mahaprabhu was again, during the kirtan, he was feeling that something is not right. And he again stopped the kirtan. And Shiva's Pandit, he asked Shiva's Pandit, is someone here today? Someone else here today? Shiva's Pandit said, yeah, there is this brahmachari, but he's a very pure person. You know, he has been drinking milk for, you know, I think 2 years, and is very renounced. And Mahaprabhu said, you think that just by, you know, drinking milk, you become qualified to be here? And of course, we know that that brahmachari was chastised by Mahaprabhu, but he accepted the chastisement. Right? He said, okay, I'm going. And when Mahaprabhu saw the response of the brahmachari, he said, okay, you know, you can stay here, no problem. So another very significant pastime took place. Shiva sang, and of course, we have to understand that this is the beginning of the Sankirtan movement. The Sankirtan movement begins on the courtyard of Shiva's Pandit. Yeah? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose his place to begin. And these devotees that were chanting, they were invoking this Krishna Prema, this love of God. After they invoked the Lord, this love of Godhead, they opened it for the rest of the world, but it started there. And on one occasion, on one night, there was the only son of Shiva's Pandit died during the kirtan. And Shiva's Pandit didn't want to disturb the kirtan of Mahaprabhu. And of course, the ladies in the house were all mourning. And Shiva's Pandit, he went to them and said, please, stop this. If you don't stop, if you create any disturbance to the kirtan of Mahaprabhu, I will drown myself in the Ganges. Please stop this. And all the ladies stopped. But as the night went on, also Lord Chaitanya, he was feeling that something is not right. There is some sadness here. Something is going on. And he asked Shiva, he said, something happened? Something bad really happened? And then she said, no. How can anything inauspicious happen in my house when you're here? And we're smiling and singing. But the devotees who were there, they said, actually the son of Shiva's Pandit, he died. And Mahaprabhu said, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? And at that point, he said that, you know, Shiva's Pandit, he has such love for me. How can I ever abandon him? That he's done this sacrifice. And then he went to where the child had died, and he brought the child back to life. And he asked, why do you want to leave the house of such an exalted devotee as Shiva's Pandit? And the boy spoke, and he said that actually my time is up. You know, we come into this world, and by the force of destiny, moving into another body. But I pray to you that I may never forget your lotus feet. And everybody became very sober because they could understand that, in one sense, no one dies. The soul doesn't die. So, again, when we are hearing about these pastimes, we're hearing about the most confidential devotees of Krishna and what is their behavior and how they act. And I cannot think of anything more difficult for someone that losing his son when he's 5 years old. Can be the most traumatic experience that people say that you never recover for the rest of your life. But Srivas Thakur, he didn't allow that to interfere with the kirtan. And this is again the quality of the Vaishnava. And what is the quality? We were talking before about tolerance. And the quality of the Vaishnava is that he sees a benediction or an instruction in anything that happens in his life. Srivas Thakur was himself Narada Muni. Narada Muni also experienced great great challenges. He was only a 5-year-old, the reverse situation. He was only a 5-year-old boy, the son of a maidservant. He didn't have a father. The only thing he had, it was his mother. And Krishna took her away. She was bitten by a snake when she was going to milk a cow. And Prabhupada explains there that the confidential devotees of the Lord see a benediction, an instruction in anything that happens in their lives. And sometimes we hear that Shiva's Sangam also represents the heart. It represents the heart of the devotee. We want the Lord to come into our hearts and to perform kirtan, to manifest in our hearts. And how does that take place? We need to purify the heart. And this is one of the ways in which we invite the Lord to come into our hearts. And is that we don't allow anything to interfere with the kirtan. Like even when it says that the kirtan was closed from intruders, we don't want envy, pride. We don't want arrogance to come into our hearts. We want our hearts to become a temple for Krishna. We want to invite Krishna into the inner core of our hearts, and so that he comes and dances. So this is very much, represented by Srivas Thakur in his pastimes at Shiva Shanga. And of course, we hear that later on, when the kirtan was, had become very, very strong, then the Lord took that kirtan out into the streets. Another way to explain why the kirtan was exclusive is that, when the kirtans began, it was like the seed. And when you have a seed, you have to protect that seed. When the seed grows, then you can remove the barriers, right? So this is the spirit of the Sankirtan movement that is very inclusive. Prabhupada was very inclusive. Prabhupada was very tolerant and Prabhupada kept the kirtan going on despite all the different challenges he was experiencing. I don't know if you remember, there is a very nice book that Sesha Prabhu put together with the 26 qualities of a devotee, right? I don't know if it's determined or fixed, I forgot now, this is many years, it just came to my mind now as we're talking. And there is a picture of Prabhupada, he's sitting on a bench, and he's very serious, very grave, And Prabhupada, it's a quote that said, it's not very encouraging, but I'm not a man to be disappointed. Huh? So sometimes, we find that there is reasons to be disappointed in a spiritual life. There is challenges. Obstacles come in the way of intruders. Like Raghunath Das, Raghunath Das Goswami, he explains that, these anarthas are like street robbers, You're sometimes walking down the road, it's in the middle of the night, and the dacoits come. And they try to steal from you. And what can you do in the middle of the night? You can only shout. You can scream. And what are these dacoits? These dacoits are the very anarthas that we have in our heart, like lust, envy, greed, illusion. And they take away our bhakti. They take away the most precious thing that we have. So we have to protect this jewel of Bhakti Devi within our hearts, and we protect these through the association of the devotees. And this is I was referring to various principles that Srivas Thakur, he exemplified with his life for us to learn. So the first one, which we are discussing right now, is that bhakti flourishes by the performance of kirtan. The beginning of the Sankirtan movement was this Sankirtan that was taking place in his house. And that place is still there. We can visit. Kirtans are still going on there. The same kirtan of Mahaprabhu is going on there. We may not be able to hear it because we don't have the purity to hear it, but it's happening. So this is first instruction. Kirtan must go on, no matter what. Second instruction, he is the leader of the devotees. He is always in the association of the devotees. No matter what obstacles he experienced, they tried to stop the kirtan in his house. He continued. They were, despite the fact they were trying to boycott him, they were trying to, remove his prestige. He was a very simple man. He wasn't affected by this. He kept the association of the devotees as foremost. And another important instruction is that tolerance that we're discussing also, that he manifested throughout his life. So, these are some of the things that I wanted to meditate upon. I was hearing from Sachinandan Swami. He was explaining what mantras they were singing during the night. Of course, they were singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But they were also singing the names of Krishna. And one mantra, or some of the names we're singing was Krishna Rama Mukunda Murari Vanamali, Krishna Rama Mukunda Murari Vanamali. So they were singing these all night long. And Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudam. They were singing the same process. And through this kirtan, initial kirtan, they invoke the mercy of Mahaprabhu. They invoke the descending of Mahaprabhu. He actually cause in one sense. Of course, Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, but he incited the Lord to become his devotee, to become a devotee when he was just a pandit. Yeah? And then through these kirtans, they opened the storehouse of love of God for the rest of the world. And from that courtyard to this day, the Sankirtan movement continues on by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and by the mercy of the devotees. So I'll stop here. There is a lot of very senior devotees here. And before we go even into the questions, I would like maybe to hear some point that you would like to share, some appreciation of Shiva's Pandit. Right? This is the glorification takes place always, in the association of the devotees. So I am very limited. I'm very junior to most of you. So maybe someone would like to share something about Shiva's Thakur? Anything? Where is the mic? Someone has the mic? Anyone? And well, yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your glorification of Srivas Pandit and your discussion on how the Sankirtan...
Volume is really down. I cannot hear properly.
We need batteries.
I think it's very low.
We can get some batteries for tomorrow? Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
So, you're discussing how the exclusive kirtan became the inclusive kirtan. And this was all part of Mahaprabhu's dynamics of spreading the Hare Krishna movement. We have to include others, obviously, in order for things to progress and people to understand what is kirtan. But can devotees sometimes go back to that exclusive kirtan where there's like groups of devotees who are like really close-knit and they feel comfortable with each other's association, and maybe even the kirtans are sweeter because of that exclusive aspect rather than being inclusive for large amounts of people?
I think so. I think that we have these, sometimes we have these japa retreats, we have these retreats where the devotees come together. Because, and this is another principle, the principle of association. We like to associate with devotees who are like-minded. And sometimes this is required. So it's not one or the other, but in what spirit we do this, so that when we have this very nice association, we develop this higher taste for Krishna consciousness, we can share that Krishna consciousness with others. It never becomes like, this is my circle, and no one is coming here. I will say that the greatest nectar of Krishna consciousness, and correct me if I'm wrong, is in sharing Krishna consciousness. There is nothing higher than that. Those who have had the opportunity to distribute books, to do Harinam, and to see how the spark of bhakti touches this, the soul, is nothing like it. But also, we can come together and we can recharge batteries sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. My point is sometimes exclusive kirtan, sometimes inclusive kirtan may actually be very nurturing for specific devotees. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. So this is what I'm saying, that it's room for both. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu? Someone in the back? Haribol? But even in that exclusive kirtan, you may allow someone sometimes, like is the case with Mahaprabhu. He saw this brahmachari and he enabled him. I recalled being in Govardhan many years. We used to read Bhagavatam in the association of very senior Vaishnavas with Vaisheshika Prabhu and many others. They were coming, and Jayadvaita Swami was there, Devamrita Maharaj, sometimes Guru Prasad Swami. They were very sick, Burijan Prabhu, and there were some bhaktas, you know. And Prabhupada was reciprocating with all of us. We were all hearing together. We were all hearing the same purpose. And he was nurturing every individual. The spirit of Sankirtan is that, you know, we elevate each other. And that was greatly felt. And I always recall that for the Bhagavatam classes, everybody was giving classes, even the younger devotees. And Vaisheshika Prabhu will come and join the class. Yeah.
Srivasangan is the Sankirtan place. Sankirtan Yajna took place over there, especially in presence of Mahaprabhu. And also, because of that, Mahaprabhu revealed different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, Srivasangan is the exclusive place. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, thank you. And how fortunate we are that we can just walk there today if we want. Right? How fortunate we are that we are in Sridham Mayapur today, able to glorify Shiva's Pandit. Coming from South America, Canada, UK, Spain, somehow Prabhupada has brought us here. And we can go there and sing. And this is actually this Sankirtan place. Prabhupada established this temple where we can come and chant together. And what is the outcome of this? What is the result of this? We'll conquer Mahaprabhu like Srivas Thakur did. Mahaprabhu will come. He expanded the Sankirtan, he created these exclusive places. I don't like to use the word exclusive for Prabhupada, because for me Prabhupada is inclusive, 100% inclusive. And this is what makes Prabhupada special, and this is why Prabhupada was successful, because he was inclusive. He had that big heart. He built a house where the whole world could live. So we imbibe the spirit, but this is the spirit of the Sankirtan movement. It's the spirit of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's the spirit of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. It's the spirit of the Acharyas. It's the spirit of Haridas, Srivas Pandit. And this is, you know, so much is going on in the world right now. Talking about disturbances, right? We can really focus on those things. But what do we get out of that? Is there any value in that? But if we focus, and this is all meant to actually cause us to call for the Lord with more intensity. The whole, you know, things will go on, but the Sankirtan must go on, and our own Sankirtan. You know, we have to build that Shiva Sangan in our own hearts. I think that's a message from this pastime, that we create that Shiva Sangan in our hearts. Prabhu, you wanted to say something. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for that class and bringing us to the point of Sankirtan. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Please say something. You are our, you know, Chaitanya Charitamrita. We owe to you the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
In this purport, Prabhupada described the mood of
horizontal. You have to be horizontal. Okay. Thank you very much.
battery died. He described Kadama Muni from Satya Yuga, beginning of the universe, practically speaking, in the mood of a bhajananandi, because
He's gone. I'll repeat. The urgency in Satya Yuga is different. Now in Kali
which is
Yuga.
all about saving other souls and being Goshtiyanandi. So I was going to mention.
Yeah. So now in Kali Yuga, the spirit is the... Yeah. And Lord Chaitanya, he's saying, I have a garden, and I have to distribute these fruits. And what happens when I distribute these fruits? More fruits come, and I need help to distribute. And what happens when we join this Sankirtan spirit? While we are distributing these fruits, we're getting the fruit. And what is the fruit? It's the ultimate need, the ultimate necessity. Prajojana tattva. We describe this as the ultimate goal. I like to see it as the ultimate necessity. What is the thing that we need the most? We are hankering for so many things, okay? Stability, or happiness, peace, harmony in ISKCON, or so many things. But actually, the ultimate necessity is Krishna Prema. This is the only thing that is going to satisfy us and stop that hankering. And how do we get this? Is by assisting Srila Prabhupada, assisting this movement, cooperating together while taking the fruits ourselves. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Shiva Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premananda.